Welcome to Tech Talks by PREAT. I'm Ruben Areblo. Today, we're going to be talking about Locator RTX and why I think this is a great attachment system for patients. Locator RTX was introduced to the industry about 5 years ago. Locator RTX took what we learned from Locator over all the years on the market and being the most popular attachment available for overdenture use and looked to improve upon that. Some of the key changes that were made between legacy Locator to Locator RTX were, number one, the ability to go from 40 degrees divergence between two implants to up to 60 degrees. So it just opened up the use of this attachment to more patients without having to do maybe a custom locator on an implant or two, or using a multi-unit, then a locator on an implant or two. Also, a big improvement was the housing. The housing changed from a circular design to a circular design, but with flats, 4 flats on the housing. And the reason for this improvement was because the locator housing had mechanical retention designed into it, but what would happen is the acrylic adhesion to the housing would separate and the housing would spin around in the acrylic. And while it didn't alter the function of the attachment, it was just annoying to either the patient or maybe the dentist when servicing and replacing inserts. So what the flats do on the Locator RTX is they prevent the housing from rotating or spinning in the acrylic over time. Another advancement to the housing is its anodized pink. And the reason for that is for aesthetics. So in areas where we have thin acrylic surrounding a locator housing, sometimes that silver color will show through on the facial flange of the overdenture. So having a pink colored housing is easier to mask and more aesthetic, and you won't see that gray hue starting to show through the acrylic. One more advancement on the actual design of the abutment was the Locator RTX still has the dual retentive surfaces, but instead of the retentive surface being on the external and then the other retentive surface being on the internal of the abutment, Locator RTX is designed where both retentive elements are on the external of the abutment, one being narrower and then wider. That creates a conical shape of the abutment, and that allows for an easier path of insertion for the patient. One of the biggest improvements on the attachment was the design of how the insert fits inside of the housing. With the original Locator, the insert is slightly shorter than the housing. With the Locator RTX, the insert inside of the housing is slightly longer than the housing. What that does is it makes sure on cases where you're pushing up to that 40, 50, 60 degrees total divergence between the implants, is that it's going to make sure that the nylon insert comes in contact with the abutment as the patient's seating it. That prevents the wear to the abutment from maybe the metal of the housing hitting the abutment as the patient's bringing their denture into place. Finally, is that the abutment itself, rather than having the triangular connection of the original Locator to drive down the abutment into the implant, is the drive mechanism is now an 050 hex, an industry standard for use. Reason for that change is maybe a laboratory was ordering the Locator abutment, or maybe a referring dentist was ordering a Locator abutment for another dentist that would actually be placing the Locator abutment intraorally. And the person ordering that abutment might not know that the dentist placing the abutment intraorally doesn't have that triangular driver. So that was the reason for going to a more standard 050 hex connection. Last change to the actual design is the coating on the abutment. Original Locator had the titanium nitride coating. It's a great coating, excellent, wear resistant. Advancements over time, the new coating on the Locator RTX is a titanium carbon nitride coating. It's aesthetic, the color is pink as well. It's more resistant to wear, and it's just a harder surface, providing a longer lasting abutment to our patients. For all these reasons, I believe the Locator RTX is a great attachment system and is a great solution for patients. It's a way we can provide the best possible outcome and change the quality of life for an individual.